March has popped out to get some Angel Delight from Tesco local. I said, butterscotch. He knows. It's Sunday night, so we thought we'd treat ourselves. That new ITV drama starts at 8, so I said to him, you better get a move on and get it in the fridge, otherwise it'll be milkshakes all round. I'm not much a fan of milkshakes. Not since the incident in Corfu involving my new Oasis jumpsuit and a black man selling something he termed strawberry surprise in polystyrene cups. A local speciality, apparently. Let's just say I should have known better. He didn't look local, that's for sure. No, I much prefer something you can wrap your teeth around. Not that you get that with Angel Delight. Margaret at Swimming World said it was her saviour. I mean, it's basically air at the end of the day. Well, not the way Mark makes it. He's what you might call a creative wizard in the kitchen department. So it's very likely he'll mix in a few crushed custard creams or bite-sized chunks of curly whirly. I don't know where he thinks it up. I think he'd quite like to be a chef, in real life. There's a job going in the kitchen at our local Wimpy. I noticed when we went last Thursday to the big opening gala. They've just had a new revamp, bringing it up to the 20th century. About time too. It's much more sophisticated now. There's tea lights by the till, and they've even scrapped the name badges. Well, apart from Simon, the new manager. But then I suppose it's important to recognise authority. Mind you, not that he needed it with us, because Mark went to school with him. Though, from what I gather, they severed ties in year 11 when Simon tittle-tattled on our Mark when he did a shit in the art department sink. There's a dare, obviously. He's always been a joker. I said, Mark, love, you've got to let it go. Flush it down with that number 2. It's time to move on. I think this job at Wimpy's could be a good opportunity for him. Not that he'll listen to Muggins here. But it's not like he's getting much satisfaction working at Matalan. I mean, it's a perfectly good job, but sometimes you've got to branch out and tickle new horizons. And egg and chips is still their bestseller, and that's Mark's signature dish. He's a security guard, mind, at Matalan, not one of those flaky young lads working on the shop floor, picking through women's knickers. Right bugbear of mine, that is. Why, I stick with Marks and Sparks for those vulnerable areas. I always maintain, if you need a new bra, you at least want to be talking to someone with a pair of tits, and preferably a bit of uncomfortable flab. No, our Mark is a security guard. Don't think he's seen much action. I think he basically sits by the front door, flicking through nuts and smuggling a Snickers into his fat gob. At least he is whenever I'm in. Oh yes, they all know me, do they, at Matty? What we call him. No, they don't get much trouble. But having said that, we heard recently about a shootout in Peacocks off the A614, and it did make me worry. Mind you, they do have some good sales. I said, Mark, from now on, keep your eyes out of nuts. You've got to be vigilant with a capital V. Yes, I think it's time for a change. I won't push it, but Mark's the type that, let's just say you don't just need to lead the horse to water, you need to squeeze its bollocks. He'd never have left the Warburton's factory if it wasn't for me. I said, Mark, how many crumpets can you oversee? Oh, God, the amount of bread he'd bring home. Milk loaf, medium white, muffins, super toasty, potato cakes, crusty white, seeded batch. I said, Mark, the toaster's on the brink, and I'm 4 rounds into Swimming World, and I've got doughy patches springing up in places I never thought possible. Rosemary Conley's going to be paying us a personal visit if we don't take some drastic measures. That's when I handed him the application form for Matalan. His man boobs had become quite prominent, so I think it came at the right time. He handed the form in the next day, and Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, and the crusty white we don't talk about. That was 4 years ago now, and it's been a fucking roller coaster if I'm honest. We're fine now, but there was a time when I thought the Matty ladies were a bit too fond of our Mark, if you get me drift. Sometimes they'd even come home with little gifts, like homemade Battenberg and once a bright red glittery man-thong with goggly eyes and a bit of fluff stuck on with superglue. I could tell it was only from Poundland, but still. I said, Mark, what are we supposed to do with this? It's only a Thursday, not New Year's Eve. Still, we took it in jest. I was quite flattered, actually. He'd never have got that sort of attention working at Warburton's with his protruding nipples and overactive sweat glands, so you might say nowadays he's a bit of a stud. But then, after he'd been there about a year, I was scrubbing the yellow stains out of his work shirts, and I came across a little note tucked into one of the pockets, with a mobile number on it and the words, "Thanks for cracking me up, kiss kiss," in pink handwriting. And God, the stench of the thing, doused in perfume. Thierry Mugler's Angel. Very discreet, the dumb bitch, or so I thought. You can smell that stuff through walls. Stinks. Angel? More like an angel's arse. I remember being given a bottle of that when I was 14 by my first boyfriend, Smithy, after I let him finger me up the Odeon during Independence Day. It all got a bit rough. Wasn't used to it back then. So I think he got me the perfume as a way of saying sorry, or so I wouldn't blab. Either way, it was the beginning of the end for me and Smithy. I knew I could never build a life with someone who had such bad taste. Anyway, I thought I'd save Mark the embarrassment and wash his shirts before it stunk the house out. Even worse than his BO, but that stuff would survive a nuclear holocaust. The laundry basket was starting to smell like Barbie's fanny, so I thought there's nothing left to do but confront him as soon as he gets in. I say confront him, but only in a tongue-in-cheek way. He came in, took one look at the note, and said it was the first time he'd seen it. He got a bit uppity, actually, which surprised me, because I thought we were just going to have a good laugh at this fat 50-year-old who just fancied a quick shag in the stockroom. But he just shrugged his shoulders and told me not to go sneaking in his pockets. An invasion of privacy, apparently. I said, well, you've never bothered about me feeling in your pockets before. But he ignored that and told me it was probably just somebody pulling his leg. I said, well, they're certainly trying to pull something. But he didn't laugh. Just asked what was for his tea. I let it drop after that. But I did start making weekly visits to Matalan to try and suss out the culprit. Started taking him his lunch, on the pretence we were on a new healthy eating regime and I was getting him off the Snickers and onto lettuce. So I started picking him up a salad from McDonald's and drop it in every other day. Didn't want to look possessive. I'm sure he knew what I was up to, but nonetheless I wanted to make it crystal clear to the little madam that I wasn't going to lie down gently. Mark was a bit funny with me, but then he's never liked me interfering. After a while, I started to forget about it and things went back to normal. But then, a few months later, we were snuggling on the sofa watching Strictly, and just as Russell Grant was about to do the splits, I smelt it. In the nape of his neck. Angel. Unmistakable. I didn't know whether to scream or be sick or both. I sat bolt upright and just went for it. He must have thought he was having a night in with the exorcist. It wasn't pretty. But I couldn't contain myself, accusing him of all sorts. And he just sat there, in silence, staring down at his Garfield slippers. And then, after what felt like forever, he got up, poured us both the Malibu and orange, and told me everything.